Hey guys, just going to show you how to one-shot with shield charge. So another skill you can use if you want to. This is not as good as Sunder, but it's a cheap alternative. So the first thing and most important is Nebulog. Nebulog attacks consume an endurance charge to critically hit. This is the only thing that matters on this mace. There's actually a global modifier, so it works with your offhand, which means we can use a shield with high armor to use shield charge to basically act as a Sunder. So yeah, it's pretty cheap. This cost me like 1 div. You can get some other stats if you want. I'd say like fizz damage reduction is probably really nice, or stun threshold is good as well, so you don't get stunned. But yeah, all we care about is the armor. I do not have any other plus melees on my thing, so my shield charge is only level 20. For reference. And Plague Finger's where all the poison scaling comes from, pretty much. Okay, so I'll show you the damage. So we use gas grenade to break the armor. We have break endurance support on gas grenade to have a chance to gain an endurance charge. There we go, got an endurance charge. We infernal cry. There you go, one shot the boss. Simple. So let's go through the skills. So on shield charge itself, heavy swing, exploit weakness, ambrosia with 120 charge mana flask will give you 72% gain as extra lightning. This 1 gives us flat lightning. 2, this flat lightning will give us a guaranteed shock. We get a 45% shock for ailment scaling and just Titan hulking form, which is massive. So yeah, execute and conk effect. Now technically, momentum would be a better support than concentrated effect. It just has a stipulation where you need to travel at least 2 meters, and I find you actually have to stand quite far back for that to even work. So I find concentrated effect more consistent, but just slightly less damage. So if you have the patience to stand back 2 meters every single time, then momentum will give you more damage. This is part of the reason why shield charge just does more damage than a lot of other single hit skills, is because of the supports you can put on it. So yeah, being able to put momentum is just a massive damage boost with not the hardest stipulation. It's much better than like, what is it, Dauntless, which requires you to stand still for like a couple seconds to then get up to 45% more damage. Yeah, momentum's just much easier to fulfill. This also means it could potentially live without Deepest Tower, because a 40%... Because execute is the big reason Deepest Tower is so strong. But yeah, momentum could potentially just replace that very easily. So yeah, that's shield charge. For my gas grenade, I'd say the most necessary ones are domain, break endurance, and corrosion. But the extra area is nice as well. So all I do is just before the boss, is I just swap out my gems. So just do that. So break endurance has a chance to gain endurance charge when you break armor. So in the chance that we don't gain one, we need a skill that can consume the armor break, so we can re-break it for a chance to get endurance charge. We use high velocity rounds. It also does a decent amount of damage. It's a range skill. It comes out pretty quick. And because the gas grenades are persistent, they last 10 seconds, and the poison duration will also last a further 4 seconds. It means we have, at the very least, 15 seconds of consistent armor breaks. And that's if you're not even putting down more gas grenades. So, gas grenade is just the best skill to break armor. And it helps automate the process as much as possible. So all we do is just pop, pop. Very, very, very convenient. Works better than other. So for example, Carnarius, who also done this. He uses Armor Breaker with a Mace Strike. And then that generates the break endurance. And then he uses Leap Slam to consume the armor break. That's just not as fast as this, and it's not as convenient as this. So this is a better skill. And this is also better than totems because it can cover the entire arena. So, yeah. That's what I would do. So one big thing is Infernal Cry is a large portion of our power. The thing is with Infernal Cry, it consumes all endurance charges to empower additional attacks. So you need to put Inhibitor on to prevent it from consuming charges. This will allow the Nebulock interaction to work, so it can consume an endurance charge to critically hit. For Infernal Cry, get as high level as possible for increased Warcry speed. It doesn't use that much mana, which is why everyone says just use the lowest level. Don't, just get the highest level you can get, because the consumption isn't that much, and the Warcry speed is so much better. So Premeditation, Enraged Warcry, Raging Cry, Second Wind, and then Inhibitor. So the big thing with... And the reason you want to use Second Wind is like Enraged Warcry will consume Rage to deal 30% more damage, which is a lot. But Rage is also a big multiplier to our damage. So what we can use is we can re-up with Raging Cry to get a lot of the Rage back. So that's why you double Warcry. If you want to, you can chuck down Despair. I have these supports. If you want to, you can chuck down a Solar Orb. Because we're doing Ignite damage, Fire Exposure applies. This can also give you Rage, Regen, all this kind of stuff. Honestly, I don't bother because I can one-shot anyway without these. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could. Once you gain the Endurance charge, you could then put down Despair, this if you wanted to, double Warcry, charge. That's if you really wanted to max the damage. I'm going to talk about the tree. So a big way to max the poison damage is with a weapon swap, you can take full advantage of escalating toxins without any of the downsides of plus poisons. For example, reduce magnitude or reduce poison duration. Reduce poison duration. So this is a really good tech to get. So with 5+ poisons, we get 50% increased poison duration, which in total gives us 20% increased poison duration, which is 20% more damage. So yeah. Escalating toxins, then get a good implicit. I just have this blood tearing one. I've also got one with like a Warcry speed. You can get ones with like shock magnitude and all this kind of stuff. That would be the best. But yeah, just get whatever enchant you want. But you need this if you want good damage. Okay, so everything complements each other. The other thing with shield charge is you can't get benefits of ancestral empowerment. So if you wanted more scaling over this and you wanted to start one-shotting like 2-man bosses and stuff like that, it's going to be a bit harder to get the damage. You won't just be able to get it with like the Ascendancy for Ancestral Boost, which gives you 30% more damage. That's something that you can get on Sunder. So Sunder is still the better scaling skill because there's more things to scale it. But shield charge on a budget, 1 div, this costs nothing. You probably got one in your inventory. Excellent. You can also get like 50% more damage with like another +6 to melee and shield charge skills. So you get +3 on your amulet. You can get +3 on your Prism of Belief. That would give you like another 50% damage. So yeah, there's definitely ways to scale the build. There's definitely like you could 100%, you know, rock without Deepest Tower if you scale it high enough. And if you do all the preparation and stuff like that. But it's up to you. Anyway, I'll show you some examples of the inconsistencies that can happen. So this whole clip is just like, you know, it's like basically the worst thing that could happen. So one, you don't get the break endurance straight away. So it takes us 3 goes to get the endurance charge. I get stunned out of my thing, which is like the worst thing that could happen. So now I need to redo the process again. So here we go, we get it on the second one. I don't think I hit with my poison, but the ignite still does a good amount of damage. Luckily we got pretty high survivability on this build. So... and then we definitely hit with the poison on that one. So yeah. It can be a little bit clunky. Most of the times it just plays out like this one, where you just one-shot him straight away and that's it. That's the fight over. But yeah, it can play out like that. The other thing is, any of these gapping skills can, especially with a boss like Jest, you notice this with projectile skills as well. You can just air swing, which can lead to like no damage. So, yeah. There are also times where you just hit with shield charge and just does way less damage. It's a bit random, but for the most part, you'll just do what I just did just then. I've run a lot of lot of runs, and most of the time you'll get the endurance charge within a couple shots, and because it's automated quite well, it's honestly fine. And the high velocity rounds, if you really wanted to optimize, you'd spec into more damage, and honestly, like that can do enough damage and it's on its own. So you might not even need to, you know, the boss might be dead. If you really have a bad string of luck, you might just kill the boss with the high velocity rounds. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that, you know, another option you can take for bossing. Just show you the interaction between Nebulock and shield charge, and how we can automate the armor break and endurance charge process with gas grenade and high velocity rounds. There's even more room to damage. You can use like soul cores like this, -8 to chaos res. So yeah, in theory, you could easily up the damage by almost double. Anyway, catch you later.